We can't stop talking about it because we have a long way to go.
Welcome to the Last Catherine podcast. Last Catherine is recorded in front of a live studio dog named Batman. Grab your favorite fluffy items, sit back, and enjoy the show.
Welcome to Last Catherine. I'm Pallas.
And I'm Robert John Hadfield. And today's What's in the Blank that I have before we introduce our guest is this one. What percent of gamers identify themselves as female in 2014? What percent of gamers identify themselves as female?
You're like, I know this. I'm going to guess before you give it away. 45.
Okay, what do you think?
48.
You got it.
I know, I knew that one.
That was the actual number. Yeah. It's 48% of gamers identify as female and 52% identify as male. And the thing is that this number changed. That was a really good guess. I would have said, seriously, I'm dumb enough, I probably would have said 20%, seriously. So this was a surprise number. And it's also went on to say that in 2008, though, the number was considerably different. It was 62% male and 38% female. It's changed dramatically. So which leads us into the person that we've invited to be with us today, who is Abby Cate, who's one of my favorite people in the world. I was so thrilled that she decided to come over and visit with us, and she happens to be really knowledgeable on video gaming. And we were talking about, boy, Abby, I'd love to come have you be on this podcast we're putting together. And because you're a school teacher, my initial thought was, what about talking about teenage girls and the issues they deal with? And then she goes, yeah, but I know a lot more about gaming. And I thought, well, then dang it, let's jump into that.
Well, I'm really excited to be here. This is fun.
When you brought that up as a potential topic, I thought that's such a great idea. And then you sent me a video to watch. And it was so overwhelming. At the beginning of this video, they showed some of the characters from the 80s where the female characters, part of winning, the next time you see the character, she has less clothes on. And that's your prize.
Yeah.
So anyway, maybe we could start jumping into some of the issues here and maybe some of your experiences around the...
Well, that you're speaking of women as reward, which is a major plot point that a lot of video games use. It all stems from the damsel in distress idea, in which the protagonist has to save the woman. That's very prolific in all sorts of media, not just video games. You see it in movies, you see it in novels, comic books. But the women as a reward trope that you're speaking about takes it to the next level. So not only are women being portrayed as weak and in need of rescuing by the male protagonist, we're also seeing then that the kiss or sex or marriage being the reward. And it can even go further. We can also see situations where you're unlocking skimpy outfits for these women. You've played really, really well, so now you get semi-pornographic videos and cutscenes of these women. I think the scariest one is achievements. So, how to explain this? Achievements are special rewards, special titles, trophies, if you will, that relate to things that you've done in a game. These are public. So on Xbox or on PlayStation, you can actually look at another player's achievements and see all the different high-level, awesome things that they've done. And a lot of times these are connected with misogynistic actions, sexual actions. For example, turning the camera so you can see up a woman's skirt, you'd get an achievement. And then that becomes an actual trophy that other players are like, way to go, you unlocked that trophy. It becomes an actual thing, not just in a single player situation where you've gotten it and you feel good about yourself, but now you're comparing those trophies with other people. Some games are obviously much more misogynistic than others. But things like, how many prostitutes have you banged? And things like that. It can get icky. Even
things like, it's hard being a woman and loving video games because, for example, God of War, that whole series, I love God of War. I love it. I loved all of them. And it's extremely misogynistic. And parts of the game, you have to have sex with multiple women to continue the game. An orgy. I don't mean like multiple women, like I'm having sex with her. And
Wait, the male character has to do this.
Yeah, yeah.
It's a plot point.
It's a plot point, right? Yeah. And so, but I think it's a really odd thing inside of us as female gamers is to play the game and enjoy it and sort of overlook some of these things that hurt. It hurts when it happens. You're like, oh, thanks. Stab, stab. Get past the part. That's kind of hard. Like, actually, that's hard. Like, poke, like, A-B, left, right, like, this is hard to have sex with so many women at once.
Yeah. And it's
and
a
then
game.
You get past
you have to do
it's a game. You have to do it.
It's a mini game within the game. You actually have to, like, puzzle it out.
You have to puzzle it out. So there's an emotional thing that's happening to you, and you have to play the game, and then you continue the game, and you love the game, but there it is.
I've got a question then. That brings, there's so many questions. Are we seeing that type of, you introduced the word to me recently that I never even used, which is the word trope. Mm-hmm. That means like the concept of the play. Okay. Is that type of trope becoming more common or less common? Because the reason I look at these statistics that we talked about at the beginning, where we've seen just in the last 7 years a dramatic change where statistically half of the gamers are women. Why then is that type of thing continuing to be part of these games? And are we seeing them drop off, or are we seeing this stuff intensify?
Oh, I wouldn't say that we're seeing it intensify. I would say that it also depends greatly on the genre of the game. First-person RPGs in which there's only one playable character, and usually those characters are men, such as in God of War, you're not seeing it drop off, but you are seeing more strong female protagonists, especially in MMOs and other sorts of multiplayer RPGs.
Dragon Age is one that I'm playing right now.
Do you like it?
Yeah, it's great. It's really great. But that's you're seeing you can choose a male or female character when you enter, and I always choose a female because I grew up with video games and I grew up being a boy in the video game, and so now I'm like, I always choose a female not because I'm female, because I'm like, yes, I can be a female. But then you can sculpt yourself the way you look. You can be thin and tall, or thin and small, or larger, or you can be different races. So you can really. It takes like an hour and a half to build a character if you were like, I want the eyebrows to be exactly like this, and that shade of, cheeks doesn't quite match my white hair, and like you get really into it if you want, or you can just be like, click, 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 it's fine, it's done. I get really into it because it's really cool, but that is a neat new thing that they're doing, and in those kinds of games, you're the hero, and you're a woman, and it's just
so when you're the default. Let's just ask this question then: the default female character outfit in games like that.
It depends.
Okay.
Yeah, Dragon Age. It's actually really nice armor. Mm-hmm. Like
BioWare does it right. BioWare, and that's Dragon Age. They also do SWTOR, Star Wars: The Old Republic MMO. Okay. That is a company that does it right. They do the armor right. It's not hypersexualized. Here, I'll tell a little story. World of Warcraft. That's kind of where I got my MMO start. I was playing all this World of Warcraft. And I had a plate armor character. It was a paladin, had this huge, big plate armor. And I remember I saw one of the end game pieces of armor on a person in town, and it was so cool. It was this big, ginormous plate armor. It like had wings on it, and it glowed blue, and it was so cool. And I wanted it so bad. I wanted to wear that armor, and I worked and worked and worked and worked, and it was achievement based. You had to do all these things, and finally, months later, I unlock the armor and I get it, and I put it on, and it's a metal bikini on the female form.
Oh.
It, instead of it being this big, awesome, bulky, gorgeous, I'm like, my character is half naked. How am I supposed to? Yeah.
Wow.
And you want the armor.
It was so annoying.
That sucks.
Yeah, but Dragon Age does it right. Their armor looks good.
It sucks, but it's also part of this overall message. I mean, it's terrible that you don't get what you want, but it's terrible that that's somehow. I mean, if they're expecting that this is going to be the reward that the woman gets, are they assuming that that's what you want?
I don't know. I have no idea. I don't know if
that's once again, you get back to these numbers. If half of the gamers are women and you're playing a female character and you unlock this thing, why do they automatically assume that that's what you're interested in?
I think there's two reasons. I think number one, the people are unaware of that statistic. They still think that it's a 20-some%, that the vast majority of gamers are going to be adolescent to young adult men, many of whom play female characters just for that reason, so that they can watch.
Men do.
Oh yeah, men are playing female characters so that they can watch,
see the stuff.
That's what you see all the time. You don't see all these
never
ladies.
actually thought about that.
Yeah.
Huh, that's interesting. I never.
And then the other issue that you're running into is there are very, very, very few female game designers in the industry.
Do we have any numbers on that?
I do not have any numbers.
I was actually reading. I actually did see a statistic about that when I was reading about that this morning, and I didn't bring it with me. But yeah, it was there was a difference for sure, a significant difference.
Yeah, so maybe all game companies should have at least a consultant, a female consultant on their game, because I don't think it's going to affect the male players. I don't think you're going to see sales drop in numbers or anything. I mean, people play games because games are fun to play, regardless. I mean, if back in the day, if you're seeing not even back in the day, but I mean, nowadays, even if God of War, for example, if you didn't have sex with a bunch of women throughout the game, everybody would have still played it because it's an awesome game with an awesome storyline. But they're just adding that as some sort of sugar on top thing. So maybe they should all have a consultant that's just can we look at it from a female perspective?
Yeah, and I think that a lot of video game companies these days are. At least that's how I feel. But you're absolutely right. So many times, so many great games like God of War that have wonderful play styles, and the artwork is awesome, and the story is actually extremely riveting, and you want to get through it. And then it's ruined by the orgy scene.
Yeah, just a little bit of.
This is the most fascinating thing I've heard in a long time about this on this topic, because and once again, it's just because I don't know that I would naturally think this. Listening to what you were just saying about, okay, let's get through this. It's never occurred to me what's going on in a female's head that gets confronted and having to face that stuff in the middle of a game like that. Because I've never been on the reverse side of something like that. And so it's interesting listening that you've got that. Well, so I guess what I'm wanting to hear more about is how does that, what's going on in your head, and how does that make you feel, and what is, and then on top of it, what is that doing to the 20-year-old boy?
Yeah. That
spends hours and hours and hours and hours every day interacting with that world.
Well, my fear is that it's perpetuating the idea that a woman's body is something that men can earn the right to. That's the whole thing about the women as a reward trope.
We are reward.
If they follow a certain set of instructions,
get a good job.
The end. they get the right to what they want. There's no
consent
at all.
Yeah.
Okay. I got to ask that question now too, because see this when I was first confronted with that idea, because that was actually brought up in the video that you sent me to, but see, the women, so the man goes and wins the princess or whatever, and there's no consent on her end, and I thought, what a stupid thing to worry about. But then the more I thought about it, I go, that is a really strange thing for us to just, because once again, I'm not on that side of it. And so I'm looking at it from the opposite direction, but you guys are looking at this going, well, so she just is no choice, because the guy did whatever. Now she wants to go give herself as she really is an object that's going on. The male character is this complex individual that ends up with this reward. And then the point I'm making is that, and she doesn't have a choice in the matter. And I never really I never took that idea seriously. But when I listened to this, and the more I've thought about it over the last few weeks especially, that's really there's a weird message there. That this female character, there is no decision point. And however small of an issue that seems, there's a subtle message that's being perpetuated there.
I think it's a big issue because it takes away women's sexuality. So, like, I'm not against sex, and I'm not against sex in video games. I mean, play God of War. It would have been interesting if he was on his ship and he met someone that was like the captain of the ship or something, and they had some sort of something in common. And then there was a sex scene where it was both of them were equally in power. It was just two people having sex. And then I played through that and I was like, it was kind of sexy, but it's not like that. He is the complex character, and he is a big beefy dude. Okay. So that's also something to talk about from that angle, that's like, you're big, strong,
hyper masculinity.
Yeah. But the two women that he has this orgy with they're just, just have sex with me, like there's no female sexuality in there. It's very, very much from a man's perspective. And so they are consenting, but it's with no truth of consent. I am a processing, intelligent female who has looked at you from exterior and interior and have assessed that we are such a match that I want to bed you. It's just this strong man, sex, okay, bye. Thank God he fell into my life because that orgasm was fantastic. It's a bunch of bull crap.
Well, and then there are games that do it right. I mean, I'm going to point to BioWare again with those Dragon Age games and with SWTOR. They introduce sex and relationships in a mutually empowering way that as a woman, I like it. I'm like, oh, I can't wait to get my boyfriend. He's going to be so cute, or my girlfriend, whatever your preference is. Yeah. But you have to keep them happy. You have to respond properly in conversations and in the way that you run around in the world. They watch
call you back home, and you have to go back home, and you have to be like, "What's up?" You have
to explain yourself if you do something that they don't like, and they all have different specific personalities. And
once again, a real complex,
very complex, that has power and
as complicated as an NPC can be. Yeah, but complicated, yeah.
Where we are
like
today,
one likes flowers versus another one likes,
one doesn't want you to hurt anyone, and one kind of likes somebody who kind of takes matters into their own hands in the world, and things like that. And they have the choice to leave you.
Yeah, they'll divorce you.
They can leave you if you do something they don't like. So I mean, it does give them really choice.
Cool.
So.
You can use prophylactics. You can have babies. You can choose to not.
Yeah.
Wow.
So video games have come a long way.
Yeah.
But this is the whole issue with everything from a female perspective, everything from a feminist point of view, is that we can't stop talking about it because we have a long way to go. You know what I mean? It's like, you can't just give us a little and then be like, it's satisfying. No. Let's like really make it even.
Don't just try to appease us.
Let's really even the playing field.
Are there any organizations that monitor this kind of stuff, or that are trying to make it better? Or
well, I'm sure that there are women's organizations that deal with some of this stuff, but I'm not aware.
Because didn't some things come out of, what was it, Gamergate?
Mm-hmm.
See, maybe you could explain. I've been reading a bunch about that the last few days, and I still don't completely understand.
Okay, so it is hard to explain, especially because right now I cannot remember any of the names of the people who were involved. So I apologize, but basically what happened was that there was a female game designer, an indie game designer, and she had a game come out, and it won all these awards and got all these accolades, and people were like, great, finally we're seeing some female game designers, and this is awesome. And then all of these people started saying, well, the only reason that her game sucks, the only reason that she's getting any attention is because she's a woman. And that it kind of went down from there. It was a lot of attacks on quote unquote fake gamer girls. Felicia Day, for example, from Geek and Sundry, who made a great web series about being addicted to WoW and
The Guild.
The Guild is absolutely hilarious. Someone asked her some crazy obscure question at some game con and that she didn't know the answer to, so automatically, well, she's not a real gamer. She doesn't know this completely obscure lore so that means that she just made it up.
Yeah, that's a whole other topic. It's just women and the competition in gamers as being gamers in general, and just women and because I grew up playing video games. My Game Boy was my best friend. I was a single kid. I got a Game Boy from one of my mom's boyfriends. And I was just like Tetris champion right here. Challenge me. Let's do it. But I'm not a gamer because I never played World of Warcraft, or I'm not into the that military series that my brother loves, Call of Duty.
Call of Duty, yeah. Medal of Honor, all of those. Medal of Honor,
yeah, none of the military ones, so it's like, I don't run into it anymore. But when I was an adolescent, like, I like playing video games, like I'd like speak up, like hey, I like that. Like, oh really? You play this? Oh yeah? Or, oh really? A girl that plays video games? You're the coolest. And so I'm like,
and unfortunately,
two sides of that. That's it.
It's exactly the same way today.
There was no
it hasn't changed. Yeah. It's exactly the same way today.
I guess I only play video games with my husband and like my friends who they, take me for who I am, but I don't go to like conventions and talk about video games with a bunch of gamer people who will do that to me. I don't want to talk about how cool are you and how cool am I and why am I so.
It's like but I think that's very common for women in just about any area where the standard to be accepted as part of the club. I mean, I've got a really good friend that's an engineer. And a lot of the men at work around her that she's talked about in the past to look at her like, how could you? The standard to actually think that she knows what she's doing,
right,
is much, much higher than it would be for the same age, same educated man, because they think, well, how could that, because somehow in your mind it's just how could that be that this person, this female, she's buying a car. Well, first of all, there's an engine. But we shouldn't talk about that because you wouldn't. But see what I mean? So what you're talking about in gaming, it's the same. That's common everywhere. Where the female comes in, like, okay, let's dumb it down a little bit because she's really. For me to think that she really knows what she's talking about, boy, that standard's way, way higher than a guy is. So I think that's.
Well, I've been asked at the game store, "Oh, are you buying this for your boyfriend?"
Oh my gosh.
No, I'm buying it for me. Oh, well, have you played
I shouldn't laugh.
This prequel?
No, because it's absurd.
It's not going to make any sense if you haven't played the prequel. I've played the prequel. Are you, did you really play the prequel? Just read it. I'm like, oh my gosh, can I just buy this game and go home?
Yeah.
Seriously.
Talking about the gaming store, we were in there the other day and I had my little baby in there and she's 8 months old and she's awesome. And she's super interested in looking at everything, but she loved looking at the toys, the figurines. And so I was sitting there, and this is something I have not noticed before. So now that I have a daughter and I grew up as a woman, right? There's a lot of things I sort of have skimmed over, like, I'm frustrated about the world. I'm a woman. That's just going to keep happening. Let's sort of pretend some things I don't see some things. So all these toys were there, and there were like no girls. There was no girls, no figurines. There was a couple. There was Jasmine, there was Peach, and there was what the heck? The Joker's counterpart.
Oh, Harley Quinn.
Harley Quinn.
Yeah.
All three of which are, two princesses, one kind of scantily clad, the Jasmine outfit, and then Harley Quinn is just, crazy and playfully scantily clad, but, and I just am thinking, I'm like, this is my daughter's first experience in a gaming store. She's looking at all these characters, and I'm sure it's having a subconscious effect that she doesn't see girls. Mm-hmm. She doesn't know she's a girl yet, but she's logging this information. She sees the character. She sees there are more of a man than a woman. So when she does learn that gender exists in her world and what she is, she's going to see more men. Like more men.
Some of that's already been programmed by the time she gets to that.
Yeah.
Well, and then it's really unfortunate that the games that do employ strong female characters, for example, the Resident Evil franchise, has strong female characters, female agents, female cops, female, kick butt, take names type of ladies. But if you beat it on like this crazy hard difficulty, you can totally put her in a nurse's outfit, or you can put her in a sexy bunny outfit, or, cowgirl outfit, and again, women as a reward.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's just,
you can't escape it. And there are games where it's a male figure and you do get rewards where you can change his outfit, but it's not a Speedo.
No, they're hyper masculine.
No, they're like more colorful or different shades or like a fish head. What is the one where you get a shark's head or something?
I don't know, but I want it.
I can't remember. I played it a while ago, but it's like funny or fun, or it's not like the Speedo. So it's a double standard.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. So before we wrap this up then, is there some sort of a therefore that we can, I think that this is important for parents to be, because a lot of parents may have teenage girls or that are into this kind of thing that maybe aren't aware of really what they're being exposed to. And we also have certain gaming companies that you say do it well and others that don't. Is there some sort of a therefore that we can walk away with, or that we should...
Well, I think that the number one thing parents can do is to preview games, to take seriously the ratings of those games, and play with their kids. If you're playing with your kids and something slightly questionable comes up, you can absolutely turn and say, well, let's have a little conversation. Let's turn this into a learning moment rather than a subconscious stigma. The other thing I think that we need is, hey, girls, if you're a gamer, design games. Go for it. Go to school, learn CAD, rock science, and become the next generation that writes the cool games that we need to play.
It's interesting. 70% of art students are female. And so much of, when you look at the 3D systems, that all this stuff is really, it's artwork. Every type of, from the CAD systems back to Photoshop and Illustrator, all those things are being used in developing all this stuff. And it's amazing that when you have those, so many women that are in the field of the arts that are specifically going into that in school, how we still end up where we end up.
Yeah, I don't understand it either. It's that glass ceiling that we need to bust through and make sure that young women are being encouraged to enter those.
Yeah. Is there an insecurity for young women because women are taught that they can't be technological to learn these things? Like before I learned to program, that was an unattainable, like, what do you mean? What? Like, not because I'm a woman, but maybe it was because I was a woman that I was thinking that, like maybe it was because I'm taught that that's impossible because my brain is not as, scientific or mathematical, which I have my degree in fine arts and I'm extremely mathematical. So there you go. Don't put limitations on yourself, right? That's what we're saying. If you want to learn how to do it, you can learn how to do it. It's hard for everyone starting out. Anyone starting and learning CAD, it's hard. I don't know CAD. I'm just saying. It's got to be hard. It's hard. Photoshop, you're like a whiz. I'm like, cut and paste. So, just how much time you spend with a program. It's not about gender. But,
well, that's great. Those are great takeaways. I think that's just encouraging. It would be, I think that getting more and more women involved in the development would almost certainly take care of some of that stuff. But like you said, there's some companies that are really doing this right anyway.
BioWare has great games. Guild Wars 2, if you're an MMO player, doesn't hypersexualize costumes nearly as much as World of Warcraft. And stay away from Terra or those other Korean-based MMOs, because boob physics, they jiggle.
Oh, interesting. Okay. Boob physics. It took me a second. Got it.
Yeah. I really like what you said about parents playing video games with their kids, because we can't solve the problem, but we can talk about it. And I loved God of War, and so it's
a tough thing. I mean, I've played video games with my son just for this very reason, But these things are so long and so complex. What's that?
Not because you liked them.
Not because I liked them. Some of these games are so long and so complex that you can't possibly see every single thing that they're saying. And it's good to know that there are relatively safe organizations that, generally speaking, when this company puts something out, you're going to be relatively, you're going to be pretty safe.
It's violent, but it's not going to be hypersexualized.
Right.
Yeah.
Maybe encouraging too your children to just have an open dialogue. So like, Dad, I was playing my video game and this thing happened and it kind of made me feel uncomfortable. Like what's the deal?
And then that comes back to the relationship that the parent has with the child, whether or not they're even comfortable doing that. And that's a whole nother story.
I had to tie a prostitute to the train tracks and let her get hit by a train in this part of this video game, Red Dead Redemption.
Rockstar games, yeah.
Let's talk about that. That was really weird for me.
Well, that is absolutely fascinating stuff. Well, we'll go ahead and wrap it up on that point. Thank you, Abby. That was absolutely fascinating. And
fun.
Yeah.
Once again, please post comments on our YouTube channel underneath these discussions we're having on our website. And we really want your ideas, thoughts on not just this topic, but other things that we should be talking about that are related to women's issues, and your experiences more than anything. We want to hear what kinds of things that you've dealt with and the things you've seen that we can talk about. And if you're in the Denver area, that's where we are. We'd love to have you if you've got some great stuff to come by and talk to us. So there you go. We'll wrap it up with that. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.